have a randomized uncle weapon, so we will get to see what that is, and it looks like our runners are on the way, and our uncle is air.
You get that Zelda 2 reference in. So we're not going to have a sword, as the uncle is really bad about spoilers and will tell you right off the start, basically. Or show you at the very least. So we're going to get something else.
Yeah, now in addition to whatever weapon we do get a means of, I guess, ammunition for that weapon. So if we get like a fire rod or Samaria, we do get magic. Bow will give us arrows, but we get the hammer instead, which is actually not a bad weapon to start out with.
Tempered sword damage, one of the items required for Dark World access, and it's fun smashing stuff. Also unlimited ammo.
Yeah, the unlimited ammo is big because our runners will be going through and killing some of these guards, hoping for a bomb drop if they don't get any from the chest, because there are 3 chests at the back of Escape that these runners will want to check out on their first go through. So getting that bomb drop so they can open up that area is really important.
Unfortunately, the game has already decided to taunt them about the bombs, giving them a capacity upgrade rather than just giving them the actual bombs.
Yeah, the game does love to do that, especially with all of the capacity upgrades that you can get throughout the seed. It's not uncommon to see one early on in some part of the escape sequence. So our runners are going to be going down and rescuing Zelda, which is standard in the original game as well.
It's a nice way to open the race, showing off your execution with specific weaponry, whichever one it decides to give you. So there's actually a lot of skill that goes into this part and doing it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, there are a lot of techniques that coincide with the vanilla speedruns on how to manipulate the enemy movements to sort of make your route through Escape as easy as possible. Unfortunately, we haven't seen any bomb drops from the guard, so for the sake of our runners, I do hope that the bomb drops were not shuffled out of the guards, but we will see if they do get any before heading into the back of Escape.
Still a few more opportunities on the way, and I believe the various rats and snakes and the sewers themselves also have their own lineup of drops, so they might be able to get it back there.
Yeah, they do get arrows out of the chest in Zelda Cell, but, well, arrows don't do anything without the bow, so that's not really that important right now. flaafykins is using pot strats on this ball and chain knight, which is very effective no matter what weapon you have, because 2 pots will take it out immediately without having to get too close. And with hammer having that short range, it's definitely the safer method.
If you try to actually hammer that guard, sometimes he's just uncooperative and you lose a lot of hearts. He can kill you very quickly, so sometimes just standing back and throwing stuff at him, as kind of comedic as it sounds, is actually pretty effective.
Yeah, I'll normally go for those strats unless I have bow and arrow or fire rod in Escape, so I don't blame Flaffy for doing it that way at all. So this next chest coming up, which is 3 rooms into the back of Escape, we are guaranteed to have a key there. We have not gotten the key yet, so we will need a key out of that chest in order to progress further on. We also haven't gotten the map yet, so there will be 3 more items for our runners in the back of Escape and in Sanctuary.
The good news is if they don't acquire a bomb drop, they'll at least know that there's only a couple things here rather than a full complement of 3.
Yeah, and Pooh is definitely killing a bunch of these enemies and does get his bomb drop from these ropes here in the second room. So he does have his bomb required to completely salvage through escape.
Also getting a nice gradual buildup of resources across the board, having the full magic, building up some more rupees along the way.
Yeah, both of our runners, they did get 50 rupees from a chest, but getting these additional rupees is definitely going to help, needing 100 for the bottle vendor, as well as other potential necessities to buy, sort of like maybe bombs. And flaafykins did get a bomb drop, but unfortunately dies before she can go ahead and grab it. So she will luckily start right before the back of escape, but we'll have to hope for another lucky bomb drop.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the unfortunates with the hammer is, again, the very tiny hitbox on it and kind of its weird orientation can make it very easy to get overwhelmed by a lot of enemies at once.
Pooh did get a bottle in the chest behind the bomb wall there, which is nice because normally runners will route in Kakariko Village right after escape, and having that bottle so you can work in the sick kid into your routing there is really nice. So the bottle is a nice find there, saves a little bit of backtracking possibly later on in the seed.
It's nice to just be able to complete everything in one cycle. That being said, depending on what tree pulls and bush crabs are, Pooh might need to buy more bombs. It's very much likely he's going to end up getting all the rupees he needs anyways, but sometimes Kakariko doesn't feel like being particularly rich, and or tree pulls can be 20 rupees and I can just stop talking.
Yeah, so Pooh has enough for a 10-pack of bombs and the bottle vendor now, so that's really nice. And we are going to get a check here on Lumberjack's Cave to see if we do have an Agna required seed in this sense. And it looks, nope, 50 rupees. We're probably not going to see Agna for that, but there's still the possibility for Dark World access.
It's a bit of a lower possibility, though. It's the only thing we're missing. We already have the hammer, so Power Glove and Moon Pearl is really all we need. That being said, if it feels like putting them on the pyramid or over on the east side.
Yeah, and Flaffy unfortunately took another death in the back of escape, so she is a little bit behind in time right now while Pooh is making his way through the woods, and we'll be heading to Kakariko to search the plethora of possible items there. Does get another bomb drop, so at least may be able to route in Blind's Hut or something, so, and just hope for a 3-pack of bombs to complete Kakariko without having to buy some too.
Yeah, hopefully he'll get another pack in the basement here, just to make the whole cycle easier. Sometimes it feels like being nice. Flaffy putting in a bit of a concerted effort here into trying to get bombs, but unfortunately the drops just aren't being cooperative the second time around.
Yeah, just going to cut our losses and just make the rest of the way through escape. We know that really the big thing in that room was a bottle, and if Sick Kid doesn't have anything, it won't be too much of a loss not to have gotten it this early. She may come back later on and check just to be sure, though.
So Pooh did get one item that he wanted out of Blind's basement. We found the Power Glove down there. So at this point, for the aforementioned Dark World access, all we're missing is, in fact, the Moon Pearl.
Yeah, unfortunately, no bombs there. So not having the bomb, he is just going to go and purchase some rather than hoping for one of the 4 accessible chests in the well to have bombs. Not a bad play here. He had the money, so it is definitely worth going to buy them so you can just clear out the chicken coop as well as the well all in one go.
Yeah, you do need a considerable number of bombs to clear a lot of the early game. You need potentially 4 here in Kakariko, depending on race game. You need one for mini Moldorm and Ice Rod if you're going to check it. So it's usually, unless you get a lot of bomb drops very quickly, you're probably still going to want to buy a set anyways.
Yeah, and if routing takes you that way, even an additional one for Saharasla, so definitely worth picking them up if you don't have a large quantity coming in.
Yeah, they're used in so many locations, especially early game. So, but there's some more for him, and some more. Wow, okay.
Because that's how the game works. Buy bombs will give you more.
The one time you choose not to gamble on the wall having bombs, it's got 6 of them.
So 2 more items here for Pooh inside of Kakariko, and then we'll go check out the racing game and what's inside the library. And Sick Boy just giving in the last piece of his heart.
Wow, okay, Kakariko's loaded with bombs.
Yeah, if you didn't come in with any, you're definitely sure to leave with them. So at least they're making use out of that bomb upgrade they got in Escape. And the pull from Mario giving 80 rupees to Flaffy, so that at least gives her a little bit more money to work with. And library is just 20 more rupees, so a lot of money early on as well.
I'm kind of curious as to why there's pictures of Flappy's opponent in Kakariko. Anyways.
We'll have to ask the tournament or the people that are involved with making this randomizer why they haven't replaced the portraits with like pictures of Andy or something.
Alright, race game unfortunately having nothing, but at least it's checked. So Pooh's going for the standard south shore route here. Going to check the dam, mini Moldorm cave, and maybe do the loop up to Ice Rod. We're probably not going to see fake flippers. It's definitely more effective when you've got the Moon Pearl to actually go all the way up to Waterfall Cave with it, but...
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting to see something soon here because the hammer and the power glove are really the only 2 items that we have seen with any value whatsoever. It's just been a bunch of bombs and arrows and rupees and hearts other than that. So hopefully our runners are able to find something to sort of guide them in a direction of where they need to go sometime soon.
Well, there's a few items they can get. If they get the lamp, that opens up the first couple of locations on Death Mountain. If they get the Moon Pearl, that's Dark World.
Yeah, what I would find interesting is if they get Lamp and Mirror, because that will open up East Death Mountain as well. So that could potentially have a lot more key items as well. Key items up there.
But first, the dreaded mini Moldorm cave. When you don't have a long-range weapon. Going to opt to throw bombs. And we don't have any of the magical bomb phasing mini Moldorms today that just don't take damage because they don't feel like it.
Well, there's a sword, so we do have another nice weapon and the book as well. So if we don't have a small or big key on the torch, we might be able to head over towards, well, what is a pendant? Desert Palace.
We might not see that for a while. Walking all the way over to Pendant Desert Palace just in hopes that it doesn't have, like, or has one of the keys accessible is a bit of a risk. But then again, we're walking up to Ice Rod Cave, so... It's not that long of a walk over to Desert Palace, all things considered.
No, it's just one of those things where you definitely want to do it when you have the ability to access more items rather than just the one in Agina's cave. But there's often times where Agina's cave will have what you need in order to get further into the seed as well.
It's like one of the hardest decisions to make when you've got the items to go and fight Aghanim. It's like, all right, do I do everything I can to not and take the trip over to Agana's cave, or do I go to Aghanim's tower?
Right, and it looks like Flaffy is going to sequence break here, doing a dark climb through to get the old man and head up to Death Mountain. Interesting play because really outside the old man and the two items at Spectacle Rock, there isn't much more she can do up here. And hammering using for a point of reference in this dark Death Mountain cave is not fun at all.
No, unfortunately, it doesn't give a particularly good indication of your location unless you're near one of the edges of the screen to begin with.
And we do have Pooh checking a game's cave, and look at what we get there. The hook shot.
Well, that he definitely got that book and was like, I'm gonna go take a look at Desert, and it very much paid off. Hookshot is going to be required every single seed, unless you can hover in Swamp as a pendant. As there's a very nice series of hookshot required maneuvers in Ganon's tower, and we've also got Quake on the ledge there.
Yeah, and if we do find Lamp here anytime soon, that will definitely open a lot of Death Mountain for Pooh, because he can now access East Death Mountain and then wrap around up to Hera, which we know is a crystal dungeon, by way of the hammer.
Even better, it's one of the 5-6 crystals.
So Pooh is going to come into Desert and hope to find well, the two items more than anything, but hope that the torch will not be holding anything he needs. And there is the big key. So if big key does hold, if big key chest holds the small key, then we'll be able to clear out quite a bit of Desert Palace here.
Well, unfortunately, the small key's up there, so the only thing he's going to be able to do is pick up the big key chest here.
Yeah,
the big chest itself.
Yeah, and then we'll most definitely go down and pick up Quake, which we saw on Desert Ledge, but in terms of Desert Palace, can't do anything more. So not too much great to find here, but Agina's cave definitely holding the treasure for Desert area.
Yeah, that cave alone basically paid off the trip here. Especially since it's an item location that a lot of people will leave until they get like the flute and Dark or Titan's Mitts, just to try to route this all together with Meyer.
So I was gonna say, it looks like Pooh was thinking about heading into the back of Desert Palace, but without a fire source, that's not going to really do much for him.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's not even any items back there in the meantime beyond what could be on Landless. So he's probably, I feel like he's gonna head eastern at this point.
Yeah, and Axel brings up a good point where he could have actually went into the second room of the back of Desert Palace and stolen a key to go check the two right side items in Desert Palace, which isn't a horrible play, but in terms of logic, that wouldn't be required to do right now. So Pooh just gonna go over to Eastern and make a play here, which I think is a sensible play because we do have access to 6 more items.
And unfortunately, 3 of them are not useful.
Yeah, but it always seems that, when you make a play over to Eastern, that is sort of driven by nothing else to check. Saharasala won't have anything worthwhile. Game wants you to go into Eastern.
So are we actually going to find anything in Eastern, or is it going to decide to send us up to Zora?
Zora would be the funnier thing, but I think we'll actually find Flute here in Eastern for access to Death Mountain that way.
That's a very specific guess.
Yeah, I tend to have a knack for like making guesses like that. So, I mean, it'd be interesting, but well, there's a shovel, so maybe Vanilla Flute.
The other side of the flute.
Because nothing is more fun in Randomizer than Fetch Quest.
We've got so many options for them too.
So Pooh, having Hookshot, is able to do this the nice and quick way for this chest. And just the map, so we have one more chest, unless the next one is Big Key, in Logic right now for Eastern.
Seems like Flaffy is also making her way over here. Unfortunately, not with the hook shot, having not taken the trip over the desert. But to be completely fair, I'd personally probably choose this over heading to desert as well. Just item density alone.
Absolutely, and Pooh having a little trouble with the skeleton quick kill there, but is able to get through him. Just gets the compass here, so in terms of logic, all of our items in Eastern have been obtained. However, Pooh is going to go ahead and sequence break for at least the next two items. One, of course, is going to be the Big Key, and then whatever's in Big Key chest. Most runners will do the sequence break. This is one of the easier dark rooms to navigate through in the game, so you'll see a lot of runners make this play, regardless of whether they have lamp or not.
Unfortunately, getting bumped around by the anti-phase a little bit and pushed back onto the switch, having to set it or hit it again. But getting through, just need to find the key in here. Yep. And Pooh just needs to make his way back through. This is definitely one of the dark rooms that a lot of people learn early on. When they first start playing, is it's basically just a couple nice squares.
Yeah, and we'll also see Pooh employ the damage boost skip here. Very nicely done to get through the anti-fairies to grab the Big Key. Gonna go check the Big Key chest and then make his way out because, well, the last item isn't attainable without the bow anyway, so no sense in making the dive all the way back there.
All right, big chest. Hey, look, bombs.
Of course it's bombs. So Pooh gonna go do a little shoveling here would be my guess. Or no, he is going to Sanctuary, so we may see him sequence break up to Death Mountain as well.
Fortunately, having the sword for this is much easier to navigate than trying to use the hammer or bombs. The sparkles are a very good indicator of where you are in relation to the room.
Absolutely. I would say that the sword and Burna are the two items best for sequence breaking through dark rooms. Sword, of course, because of the sparkles, tends to be the favorable things, especially because you can sort of knock enemies out of your way as well. So Pooh just picked up the Old Man, and we'll be heading through the second part of the cave, and we will get to see what Old Man item is.
Flaffy, unfortunately, gonna have to finish this room off conventionally. Getting bumped around by the anti-fairies a little bit pushed them into a very unsafe health range.
Yeah, there's actually at 1.5 hearts, she wouldn't have been able to complete that because you take a half-heart damage from the lever and then 1 full from the anti-fairy. So does a really good job of making quick work of full clearing the room, though. Unfortunately, will not be happy with the other item here. And here we do have Pooh checking out East Death Mountain. And with the shovel, Flaffy is going to make a play for digging game. May end up routing in Gina afterwards. We'll have to see what she decides to do there.
So is this going to be the flute? Or it can just be the moon pearl, that too.
Yeah, you know, instead of access to Death Mountain, we'll get access to the Dark World. And with, I mean, they do have a nice collection of parts so far, so it is not too incredibly horrible to have Dark World access, but for purposes of like Thieves Town and Skull Woods, the more hearts, the better.
Yeah, both bosses have a horrible tendency of not actually caring how many hearts you have. When either of them get out of control, they can just kill you so fast.
Absolutely. Pooh missed his first bomb jump, but got it that time, so he will be heading up. We'll see if he elects to do Spiral Cave. A lot of runners will opt to save that until they have boots, just because it is such a long and tedious walk without it. But of course, you know, it is in logic, so sometimes skipping it can be bad. So Pooh is not going to skip. He is going to go ahead and go into Spiral Cave. And Flaffy's going into the Dark World.
It's time for Hype Cave. Is it actually going to be hype? Let's find out.
We'll also see if we get a check of the Dark World map at any point on Flaffy's side. Well, Cave to start out is not that bad. Half magic, a full heart, magic powder, and I missed that last one. But, I mean, 3 items, not necessarily required, but all 3 are kind of nice to have.
Unfortunately, 2 of them kind of amount to, yeah, safety / fetch quests. Unlocking the Bumper Cave in North Dark World, as well as possibly the Laser Bridge and Spike Cave, depending on other lineups, as well as the Powder, which, you know, turns stuff into fairies and gives you access to Batman.
Yeah, the Cave with half magic screams Spike Cave to me, but we'll have to see how long, because we got to remember that, well, that's still not in logic, and until they are able to make their way up there, it's something that is not bad to check. And well, look at that, Amp is in Hera, so that means Flute is somewhere to gain access up to Death Mountain.
But with the Moon Pearl's location and having already gotten the hammer, there is a lot of Dark World that the Flute can be in.
Yeah, so we might not even see Flute for like the next 30 minutes, and it would still be reasonably in play. And it looks like Flaffy is heading over to hang out with the catfish for a little bit.
Unfortunately, no mirror will prevent checking Zora, and no flippers will prevent Waterfall Cave on top of that.
Yeah, with her rupee count right now, she wouldn't intend to check that. Which is interesting that she is electing to come up here and check out catfish without having any other routing possibilities in this area, but not the most horrible play. May just choose to up A and head over to Village of Outcasts after this.
To be completely fair, you also never know when the catfish has, like, mirror. Not today, but... Alright, Pooh is going to go up against everyone's favorite boss, Trolldorm.
Yeah, we'll see if Pooh uses Hammer here, because Hammer actually makes a lot quicker work of Moldorm than the Fisher-Price sword does, but is electing to go with Spin Slashes, and doing pretty well on Moldorm so far.
Going for the relatively safe, holding the sword out and just poking him. Oof.
Unfortunately, gets knocked down in the worst of the pits because, well, that is a guaranteed 2-floor drop.
Unfortunately, Moldorm not too keen on being turned into a kebab at the moment.
And we do have a bat check on Flaffy's side, and Bat is going to give us the blue boomerang. So here we have Moldorm number 2.
Being fairly cooperative, again.
Yeah, unfortunately, when it gets up to that speed, it becomes a lot more difficult, but Pooh is able to stay on the platform and take out the Moldorm. Gets the key to the basement, so...
Here's your victory prize. Go take a coffee break.
And Flaffy is heading into the Dark World over towards the Village of Outcasts. We'll see if she elects to go down there or up to Skull Woods. And it looks like she is going to make the play on Skull Woods first.
Oh man, that stupid dead rock getting on the bridge.
Yeah, Pooh going to go check out Ether. Oh my goodness, it's caught itself. I mean, it can't even...
When you see that, you just reset it. You just walk
Yeah.
off screen. It's like, no, I'm not putting up with this.
But Pooh will be able to check what is at the Ether tablet, but will not be able to actually pull it. So just couch cash.
Good to know that he doesn't have to come back up here for that later.
Absolutely, and just a bomb upgrade on Spectacle Rock. We'll see what the item inside is, and just 100 rupees. So he's going to save and quit. Now, if he would have actually had the cape and half magic, which Flaffy has, before going out there, he may have also elected to check out Spike Cave, but we'll opt against it, and he is going to go Shovel now, would be my presumption, to get his Dark World access.
It's as good a time as any to make this check when your options, I believe at this point, are basically Zora or Shovel. This is a much shorter walk. Flaffy pulling boots in Skull Woods.
Yeah, this is the reason a lot of runners will check Skull Woods, even if they can only get so far in into it because it seems like Skullwoods has a tendency to have some good items a lot of the time. So boots are playing to that rule, and Flaffy will continue to check these last few spots, taking the more traditional route to the big chest here.
Much safer if you're not familiar with a bomb jump. Vertical bomb jumps can be a thing sometimes.
So Pooh is going to be heading into the Dark World in the same area. We'll see if he decides to go into Skullwoods to get his boots, or if he's going to check out Village of Outcast area first. And Flaffy, not having Canis Mario, is going to have a lot more entertaining time with these Gibdos.
This room is terrible.
And there we have our map check on Pooh's side, and we have a pendant swamp and a green pendant mire. Our other red crystal is at Thieves Town.
So interestingly, I believe that means you can technically sequence break around needing the flute, barring anything being required in Mire.
And Flipper's at the chess game.
So it seems this part of the Dark World has quite a few nice things already between the flippers and the boots. We've got both pairs of footwear now. On different runners, mind you, but...
Yeah, and now that makes the thought of the play for Zora and the Waterfall Cave a lot more tempting, especially on Pooh's side where he has over 1,000 rupees, so it would definitely be worthwhile to route in.
Yeah, several items in one very small area, save for the length of the walk to get up there.
Our last village item, and Silver's. Wow. So, yeah, Village of Outcasts is having all the items that Kakariko, or is having the item hype that Kakariko would normally have. And Pooh is entering Thieves Town now.
It is a crystal, and it is the other 5/6 for that matter, which will immediately open up Pyramid Fairy for Pooh. So we'll probably see this completed while he's here.
Yeah, and having Hammer, it is fully clearable, so definitely worth it. Fortunately, nothing great yet in the early onsets of it, just the compass and a key for the back part.
Unfortunately, Pooh does need to be careful in here. He's currently at 3 hearts, and everything in here hits pretty hard.
Our first item is just a 10 arrow upgrade, so nothing too exciting so far in Thieves Town, but we have the whole back half to go.
Mario turning into a toad briefly.
It's actually one of my favorite things that our sprite development team does is what our bunny sprites are for each of the created sprites. Some are very entertaining, so I find it enjoyable. Pikachu's is quite entertaining as well.
Alright, so by the looks of it, almost all of the items are in the back of Thieves Town somewhere, so...
Yeah, we'll still have our map back here, but all the other 3 chests are going to be items, so if it wasn't worth diving before, it definitely is now. Just has to be careful. Pooh with a nice heart drop there to sort of boost his health a little bit more. Hookshot is also a great thing to have out for Pooh right now, just because it does make these enemies in Thieves Town a lot more manageable, since they are one of the few enemies that go down in one shot to the hookshot.
Which is a good thing, because these little caterpillars do like 1,000,000 damage. That is obviously hyperbole. I believe it's, what, 2 with green mail?
Yeah, it is 2, but that's pretty much the story for Thieves Town. Is you have enemies that, while they don't do as much as in other areas like T-Rock and Mire, these enemies can really do the damage very fast. So before you know it, like Pooh right here just lost 3 hearts really quickly in that room. And that's the story of Thieves Town. It's how quickly the enemies can deplete your HP, just not how much damage they do.
Oof. And I'd say like deciding to give him a hug just to demonstrate.
And Pooh is debating if he wants to go back in and is electing against it. He is going to go have a little fun in a digging game.
Yeah, opting to leave. Hopefully, Thieves Town, the rest of Thieves Town, won't have anything particularly good, or the Pyramid Fairy.
Flappy using powder to refill her health, so very good use there. Having a tool that Pooh did not have at that point, so she will be able to progress further on. We'll see if there's anything worth noting down here in the rest of Thieves Town. And
unfortunately, just a big 20 from the digging game.
And we'll possibly go see what Stumpy has for us. I mean, the Light World had Moon Pearl, so maybe Stumpy will have something interesting.
Or you can have 50 rupees. You're just taking all the shiny stuff from him, his shiny gems and his Moon Pearl.
Yeah, it's safe to say that money will not be an issue for the runners in this seed. Pooh is going to go check out Hype Cave now, which we know has a lot of good safety items. So it's not the worst Hype Cave you can have compared to when you can just get like bomb upgrades and bombs.
Blind giving us yet another sketchy pun.
Yeah, Blind's puns have become kind of redundant after seeing and playing this so many times, so we need to get to work on giving the devs more puns to write into there.
Master Sword off of Blind.
Well, that's a nice upgrade to get.
A fair bit more combat power from that. Gives you the much maligned sword beams. I'll admit its status as an upgrade is sometimes questionable when those get in the way. But it does more importantly put you one step closer to getting the Tempered Sword, and is actually, you can finish the game with the Master Sword. I don't believe it is going to make you do that, but sometimes when you're in go mode and you just want to finish it, you don't want to look around for Tempered. You're just gonna take the Master Sword and go and fight Ganon with that.
Yeah, and if Tempered's one of the things that is holding you up and is possibly somewhere like, you know, Mire or Left Side Swamp, you're not going to want to invest the time to go check those areas just for the Tempered Sword. You'd rather just go in and take on Ganon.
Yeah, it does save a bit of time, but unfortunately, when you end up with a lot of item locations still left to check, you can easily spend more than you would have lost just looking for the upgrade. So having mastered master already is just really, really nice. Gives you a lot more time to actually find that tempered without specifically looking for it.
Yeah, Pooh is going to head back into the Dark World here. We'll see if he makes a play for Skull Woods or if he goes back down to Thieves Town. Looks like he's going back down to Thieves Town right now.
Possibly concerned about the big bomb that Thieves Town will unlock, since it is a 5/6 crystal. That is 2 items, and if it happens to be the logic required progression, then you really don't want to miss that.
And Fluffy looked like she was going to head down towards the desert area in the Dark World, which would have had absolutely nothing for her at this moment. But instead is going to go check out the hobo now.
Got the flippers from over there. It's kind of the only item giving direction aside from boots, so might as well put it to use.
Yeah, and with the routing, this is actually going to open up 5 spots. She'll check hobo and then come back down and warp back to Zora's domain to get the 2 items from the waterfall, and has enough rupees for Zora now. So 5 items is definitely a good routing play here. And the hobo with a bombos could come into play depending on what medallion is required for T-Rock, or possibly if we need to do bombos ice cave or ice palace.
I mean, I'm kind of curious as to why he's, just hiding under there with that, but
yeah, I mean, could probably be seen as a little sketchy having a explosive thing under a bridge, but I guess they're not too concerned.
all right, finally gonna get to find out what Zora's had this entire time. They've actually been not only accessible, but having the currency for them for quite some time. So
Yeah, the waterfall didn't have much. The ledge here is not going to be checked by Flaffy. So having flippers, she'll probably just jump down and go check that way anyway. But Zora could have a nice big prize here for us. We'll see what it is.
all right, King ripoff. Yeah.
Having Cape and Half Magic, that's actually nothing that is going to open up any more for us. So Berna, well, it's okay. Nothing great. And Fluffy must have been able to catch a glimpse at what was on the ledge there, because she didn't go for it. So she must know what it is, and nothing important.
All right, time for the boots location. Meanwhile, Pooh is fighting blind, having gone through Thieves Town. Going to just cape up and make this as quick as possible.
Yeah, definitely much nicer time with blind this way. Having the full magic refill as the sun prize is absolutely great for our runners, because that really makes magic not an issue at all. It looks like Fluffy is finally going to make the Agina play, so she will finally get her hook shot.
Unfortunately, still looking for that flute as the actual access to Death Mountain. Looks like Pooh might also be heading into Skull Woods, which will provide a little bit of interesting equalization here as Flaffy gets the item Pooh's had for a while and Pooh gets the item Flaffy's had for a while.
Yeah, so our runners are coming up to kind of evening themselves out again. Of course, Pooh has already cleared out all of Eastern Death Mountain as well as Hera. But in terms of items, both of our runners have these same items that they're still kind of searching for to help the seed progress a little bit more. Definitely bow would be a big one, or fire rod to help progress further, or even mitts wouldn't be bad either.
And interestingly, Flaffy's going to get check the right side of desert here, courtesy of having boots already. Unfortunately, when Pooh came here, he did not have boots. And as we know, that small key is on the torch, so since he didn't opt to steal a key from the back, we're going to get to find out what's actually over there now.
First, Fluffy will be grabbing her big key out of this chest, and then we'll make her way over towards the torch.
So now the question is Land Molus going to have an item? And if so, is Flaffy going to take the time to kill them while she's here?
Well, Flaffy actually can't even get to Lamola. She does not have her fire source right now.
I forgot that's Altera. She hasn't been there yet. I see one person with a lamp, and I just kind of assume they both have it.
Yeah, both of our runners are in the situation where the area where the other runner went actually opened up the parts of dungeons that they couldn't access. Pooh having hookshot where Flaffy didn't when he went up to Death Mountain, allowed him to do Hera. Flaffy having boots here in desert when Pooh didn't has given her the ability to Titan's mitts.
Oh no.
So our last item is on Lamola, but Titan's mitts are huge for Flaffy because we don't know how long it's going to take Pooh to actually come back here to desert.
Yeah, he has a lot of options that he can still cover with what he's got, and
looks like he is going to go make his way to get some of his love from the catfish.
so let's see how Flappy is gonna. So what does Titans actually open for Flappy at this point? It allows the Smith chain. It allows King's Tomb, which she's already here.
Having Bombos, it does actually open up Ice Palace for her as well.
Oh no, Ice Palace.
Not that that's what anyone wants to hear, but it is a possibility. But yeah, a lot of the rest of it is just a bunch of fetch questing on her side.
Well, Ice Palace is a crystal, so an argument can definitely be made that yes, Ice Palace sucks and it's great to go mode, but when you're just kind of running around doing a bunch of minor stuff, it is progress towards the crystals you need, so.
Right, and I've actually had this discussion with a bunch of different runners, is every single dungeon is a lot better to go mode, and not having to go through and feel like you're searching for an item. But if that's what is available to you, don't hesitate to make a play on it, because if there is something that is there, you will be kicking yourself much, much later.
Oh yeah, and I've seen it come up a number of times where Ice Palace does have something in it, and it's one of those cases of I could have been here like half an hour ago and gotten this, but because so many people have that, you know, bias towards Ice Palace.
Yeah, Ice Palace and Swamp Palace are the two biggest ones where runners will try to put off as long as possible just in hopes that they can go mode it.
Which admittedly sometimes also works out in your favor, where you're like, I'm not going to go in there yet, and then you go pick up like one other item location. It's like, oh look, I'm in go mode. Now I'm just going to go mode Ice Palace, Swamp Palace, and Godmire, because that's what rolled.
Yeah, so Fluffy picking up the frog, unfortunately has to do this the long way, where she has to save and quit to the light world and then return him that way, because without mirror, you can't just do the short route.
Deciding to go on a bit of a tour first, though.
Well, you know, the Smiths might not get out much, so why not take him for a swim and tour around Hyrule with him? It looks like she might be going to Ice Palace. Or no, she didn't check out Ice Rod Cave before, I believe.
Interesting choice of time to do this. I don't think I've ever seen someone take the Smith to the Ice Rod Cave.
I don't think I've ever seen the Smiths swim before.
I mean, it makes sense in a way. After his unpleasant trip in the Dark World, I'm sure that Smith just wants a little bit of time to chill out.
And we did see on Pooh's side, it was just a little bit more money there on the ledge, so that's why neither runner elected to go after it.
Yeah, no one needs another big 20.
And Pooh is gonna... Is he
Not-
going to make a play?
I guess he's going to Pod. Or Pyramid at the very least.
Yeah. Going to Pyramid, I'm surprised he did not pick up the big bomb here to sort of just take care of both of them at once. Maybe he forgot that he does have the access for it.
It is really early in the seed still. Not many people expect Pyramid Fairy at sub-hour. Sometimes the seed likes to just put them, the 5-6 crystals in really dumb locations. It's like, I'm never going to get that, so...
Also, one other interesting piece to note that our runners do have access to Swamp, even though it is a pendant. So we'll see if they make a decision to go for that play as well at any time.
I'll admit, if there's one thing more people avoid more than crystal ice, it's probably Pendant Swamp. It is actually a really, really good location for picking up items, though. It's got 6 in it, so...
Oh, yes. They do not have mirror, so yeah, they do not have access to Swamp yet.
Oh, yeah, that's...
I forgot they do not have mirror.
Maybe we'll find it in Ice Palace. Ice Palace is pretty shiny and reflective.
Yeah, Pooh making the play here in Pod. Now, if he does not get the small key out of this chest, he can possibly progress if he uses the little glitch, getting the big key. So we'll see if he chooses to do the glitch, and he will debate for a little bit for us. And apparently we'll decide to opt out. We'll not use the potion glitch for the right side of Pod.
I can't argue with that. The potion glitch is a relatively new trick. He might... I don't even know if he's got a potion filled at the moment. Because I believe he used his blue earlier. And
he did purchase a red. but looks like he may be going to check out Spike Cave instead.
He's also still got to repair the logic elsewhere because he still doesn't have the flute for access to Death Mountain, so Spike Cave is not going to be the place to do that, but I'm almost expecting to find the flute in Ice Palace here because we're running out of locations that it can actually be. The lantern did not fix the logic because it was in Hera, which means that you need the flute to get it.
And just the plastic shield there in Spike Cave, so definitely nothing progressive-wise. I can't even really call that safety because the plastic shield doesn't do much.
It occasionally stops one of those guys that chuck spears at you in the Dark World. The good news is if it builds up to the mirror shield, it does make Laser Bridge a lot easier without expending magic, but that still requires finding 3 items for that to actually be helpful.
Absolutely, and Flaffy is going to set up the bomb jump here, but even though it is the quick access to Cold Stare, I would be surprised if Flaffy didn't search all of Ice Palace for the items here.
Nice quick cycle on that. Not first try, but anytime you don't lose half your health doing that is a sign that you definitely practiced. So the question remains is when is Pooh going to make their way back over the desert to pick up those meds?
Yeah, it's pretty much going to be Pooh exhausting every single spot he can check before that really presents itself as the only option.
But he does still have the advantage of having already gone through light Death Mountain, so no doubt when Flaffy gets access to the mountain with the flute, she's still going to take the time to clear all those locations. Unless the flute is, like, somehow their go mode item.
We actually haven't gotten any of the required items for T-Rock yet, which is really interesting because normally if it's a crystal T-Rock, the game likes to get you thinking early on that you're going to be heading up there sooner rather than later.
Pooh going to get his mitts here in a few moments.
Yeah, must have realized, I don't have many other spots, and well, there's Bo in Ice, so maybe not the direction that we thought immediately having Flute here. That opens up all of Pod and all of Eastern, though. And we do know that the last item in Eastern is back at the Armos.
So that's 6 more items available. Not to mention with silvers, it also makes it makes it the ultimate boss killer for half of the bosses in the game.
Yeah, having silvers before Armos statues, Vitreous, and Helmasaur is always nice.
So at this point, I'm admittedly expecting Flute to be like in the bow-locked side of Pod. Just because there are dark rooms in both dungeons, and the lamp is all the way up at Hera, technically speaking, it's not going to put it somewhere in one of those locations. So I actually wouldn't be surprised to see it relatively early in Pod.
Now, Pooh does have his fire source, even though it is via sequence break. He does have his fire source to get back to the land molus, so it looks like he is going to make a play. Or nope, he is going to save and quit, so he is not going to check what that second item is.
All right, Flaffy's gonna make her way back down to the big chest, having pulled the big key there. Check that, and probably go fight Cold Stare.
And Pooh is making his immediate play for ice. Getting mitts, having that be the crystal dungeon that it opens. Not a bad play here. We know it also has bow, which makes it even better, but decides to make the immediate play for Ice Palace.
Definitely a good choice. Oh my god. Pure vanilla.
Yeah, there's always going to be that one item that's vanilla in every game.
That is a really, really nice find before Cold Stare, though. The developers knew what they were doing here. They're like, no, this boss is too mean. We need to put the armor here by default, so... So, a very, very nice safety before one of the... probably one of the harder, or at least harder hitting bosses in the game.
Yeah, and Fluffy is going to use the safety of the Cane of Burna as well to sort of help out. Master Sword Cold Stare isn't really the most fun boss you can have. It's doable. It's not as dangerous as some others, but any help that you can have for that fight is nice.
Unfortunately, one of the downsides to the Blue Cane is that you can't charge your sword while it's active, so you're limited to just cutting things a lot.
Yeah, not to mention the absolutely insane amount of lag that it creates.
Especially when there's already icicles and a bunch of cotton candy on screen.
Yeah, really one of the biggest things to learn with Cold Stare is the pattern for those icicles, the fact that they alternate like vertical and diagonals on every single drop. If you can do that, you can sort of help gauge where you should be standing when they drop. Flaffy does take out Cold Stare and does get her crystals, so...
Yep, really nice fight. The first part of it may have been in a little bit of slow motion, but if you can come out of a Cold Stare fight alive, then you're set.
So we'll see where Flaffy's next play is. My guess would definitely be either Pod or Eastern.
Might opt to do Eastern first due to lack of mirror. Run up there, finish Eastern, then run straight down and hop into the Dark World. Depending on if Flaffy feels like sequence breaking without the lamp, though. Which, by the looks of it, she feels like doing.
Yeah, this is actually probably the smarter way to go about it, because after completing Eastern, she can go down and just go to the Dark World and then come back and do Pod, rather than having to save and quit and come back over to complete Eastern.
So in contrast with the earlier Dark Rooms in Eastern, the back one here is a little bit more difficult. If you got a fire source, you can light torches on the sides of the room, but unfortunately Flaffy doesn't actually have those. If you line it up correctly, though, you can stick an arrow in the Igor that's holding the key, and just use that to see them in the dark. After that, it's just managing to get to the top left corner of the room and picking that, unfortunately, offset from the wall pot up.
Yeah, the Igor is the most frustrating part, because if you do miss it early on, trying to locate it afterwards is one of the most difficult things to do, because the room is actually relatively big, and when they start moving, about the only way you're going to find them is by taking damage from them.
Unfortunately, currently just stepping a little too far to the right. The Igor is actually pretty close to the center of the room there. I think she actually killed the other one too.
Yeah, did manage to get her key in there though, so she is able to escape that room and head further into Eastern to get back to the Armos Knights.
Yep, nice clear of that room. It is a fair bit more difficult than it looks. Meanwhile, Pooh making his way down to the lower parts of, unfortunately, right onto that firebar. Ice Palace here.
Fluffy doing a quick refill of her arrows before heading into the Armos Knights. Fortunately, only 6 arrows required for them. With having silvers, this fight is much easier. And just a single rupee as a prize.
That is not what she was hoping to see, but at least it's a crystal, so she doesn't have to worry about coming back here later.
And Pooh, now having his big key, will be able to go get the big chest, which we know is the blue mail. And Flaffy is heading down to take a trip to the Dark World.
Alright, so as I noted earlier, I'm expecting to see some sort of progression here relatively early in Pod, prior to the Dark Rooms.
Yeah, we're still really looking for the flute that will complete Pooh Bear's sequence break from earlier. I can't imagine it would be much longer here, because we do have quite a few items that are required to open up anything else. And given that T-Rock and Meyer would both require the flute for their access as well, it would kind of almost have to be Fire Rod or Mirror if it isn't flute.
And you especially don't want to see Mirror because that's a Pendant Swamp Palace.
Definitely. So Pooh is employing the cape strats instead, which do reduce the lag and also gives him the ability to spin slash. Makes quick work of Cold Stare and is rewarded with his useless key and the crystal.
Yeah, going through that fight fairly aggressively, getting one of the puffs down before even breaking the cape out, but it was a clean fight, so.
Looks like Pooh may be making the same play that Fluffy did, heading over to Eastern and then Pod.
when it gives you the bow, if you're and you've got the lamp already, you might as well finish these 2 dungeons off.
Yeah, he's gonna have a much easier time with this than Flaffy having to go through all these dark rooms. Now, just as a reminder that the lamp being in Hera means that they should actually have access to that before any of these dark rooms in Pod are required. So that means that there will be, well, there's Ice Rod. But that means that there's actually a few chests here that they will not be able to access for progression that would open up any more for them. So we'll see which way Flaffy goes, doing a really good job with that jump, the bonk back to that chest.
That's a nice little bit of extra routing for when you have to come in through the bow lock side.
Is going to go up and check out our vanilla big key location.
Unfortunately, having gotten the big key earlier, it's
Yeah.
just a small key.
Yeah, the key for key swap. So for Flaffy, in terms of logic, there's actually only 2 more chests that are in play for her. Now she will probably go down and do the basement as well to get those 2 chests. That one is relatively easy to navigate. The maze, not so much. So unless you're really familiar with the maze, a lot of runners will choose to skip that.
And there's the flute.
So we know that will drive Flaffy to Death Mountain. That's really where the big play is at this point. Now, not having Mirror, it will be interesting to see if she elects to go ahead and navigate any of Dark Death Mountain before heading to Hera, or if she'll do Hera first. And Pooh doing a good job with the Armos Knights there. Will be going down to change over to the Dark World to head into Pod.
He'll be picking up his flute as well and sealing up that sequence break. Now the question is Flaffy?
Flaffy is going to navigate the Dark Maze.
Opting to bomb it from... Oh, okay.
Trying to set up the hammer jump here.
Definitely a much more common maneuver in Key Sanity.
Yeah, very hard to set up. And is able to get it.
Nice.
Using the pause buffers to get the correct pixel there. So good job. Pooh making his way through the right side of Pod right now.
Pulling an unknown item out of the chest there. Doesn't look like it's anything.
Yeah, always the entertaining part of doing these dark rooms is when you pull items, you don't always know what they are. Fluffy trying to make her way up to this last chest here in the northeastern part of the maze, or northwestern part of the maze. And Pooh is going to fall down and go do his key for key swap.
Well, I'm not sure if Flaffy actually got it, but unfortunately taking a death there. Or, you know, warping.
Yeah, that's it's kind of hard to tell where they were as commentators and viewers. I'm not sure if she was able to get that last item or not, but it looks like if she didn't, that she is giving up on it anyway.
And as if the dark maze wasn't a big enough pain, it's time for the dark turtle room.
Yeah, dark turtle room is where it's very important to pay attention to noises and know your counting, because you want to make sure that you're attacking the turtles when they are actually flipped, and counting to make sure that you get all 6 of them, because once they start dispersing and are all over the place, it is a lot more difficult to kind of track them and find where they are.
Yeah, this room is quite the challenge.
We do have Pooh making his way over to the maze, entering from the door, so we will at least get to see what these 2 items were. Compass was one of them.
Well, if Flaffy didn't get that, that's insignificant anyways.
And bomb capacity upgrade.
Also insignificant.
Fluffy having to be really careful down to no, does take another death here in this dark room. And ops to save and quit will go elsewhere. My guess is to activate the fluke and then maybe back up to Death Mountain.
Yeah, it's definitely better to go somewhere else than keep trying to do a dark room that you haven't practiced, especially that one, because the walk back it's not too long, but even a second death is just a huge amount of time lost.
Yeah, and if you're unable to complete it the first time, a lot of times that will really play with your mind, and you'll question whether you can actually do it this time around. So decide it's better to go ahead and do something else Especially having the flute, that opens up quite a bit right now.
Plenty of other item locations to check, and can make a trip back to Pod to finish it off later. Especially since we know she's going to get the lamp in Hera.
Is making the decision to go up and check out Spectacle Rock first. And as we said before, Pooh's going to have a much easier time with these rooms down here because he does have the lamp. The rooms are pretty much just a matter of execution more than anything, which is a lot easier.
Fluffy's also going to get the opportunity of checking Dark Death Mountain stuff while she's over here. Pooh has not come back up here to do that yet.
Almost 4 going to be quite quick work for Pooh, just 17 hits from his hammer and then one silver arrow in between the eyes, and that'll be all. So, of course, once Almost 4 wants to cooperate, but Pooh does take it down, so that will be his 4th crystal.
So he's well on his way to getting his GT access. Still needs that fire rod for Skullwood, and still needs several items for T-Rock.
Yeah, probably go see him activate his flute now, and then going to probably head up to check out Dark Death Mountain, would be my guess.
Now, since flaafykins doesn't have the mirror yet, if we're even going to get the mirror, she's just going to opt to clear Hera and all this stuff over here first, and then do the switch to Dark World.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. It's especially because I don't know. I don't remember if she actually ever rescued the old man or if she decided to quit before getting there. So she actually wouldn't have the immediate save and quit access. She would have to flew back up here, but this is definitely quicker in terms of accessing everything in one go around.
And that lovely lamp. This is actually pretty unpleasant on the part of the logic, putting the flute in Pod and then actually technically requiring you to come up to Hera just to go back down to Pod later. So...
yeah, Hera gonna be a little bit nicer for Fluffy since she does have the Master Sword for her trip through it. Pooh only had the Fighter Sword, so that will at least make things a little bit nicer, especially Moldorm.
looks like Pooh is opting to do the Smith chain stuff at the moment. Which is giving Flaffy a bit of time to cover ground that Pooh has already covered.
Yeah, definitely not a bad play, except, well, we know it doesn't equate to much, but if you have the items for it, you're probably going to want to check it sometime sooner or later. The only thing is it is quite tedious without having the mirror to do all these at once.
Quick kill on Moldorm there.
So Pooh going to return the Smith, and then we'll see where he decides to go after that. Unfortunately, runs into the Maiden of Kakariko, so just gets that little dialogue box. Really, the guards coming isn't too much of a concern.
Gives you a bit of a music change, that's about it.
Flaffy getting her shield. Not something that she really cared to see, but see if she chooses to return to Pod at this point to finish it off.
Interesting that she didn't opt to check Dark Death Mountain while up there. Oh, she is heading back up there, though.
Is going to go rescue the old man now, since logically it is in play, having the lamp finally. And we are going to get a Dark Death Mountain check here from Pooh.
Unfortunately, even with boots, you can't run with the old man following you. He doesn't feel like moving that quickly.
Yeah, it is funny to see the dash animation at walking speed, though.
Good for comedy, not so much for actually navigating.
Good hookshot clip there by Pooh. Definitely, if you can pull it off, a big time saver, not having to go up and down an extra set of times. Gets a red rupee and a blue rupee for his troubles here in Super Bunny Cave, so nothing great here. We'll have to see if Hookshot has anything more beneficial.
I think I'm expecting to find Fire Rod and Hookshot.
The thing that would worry me is finding some Maria here in Hookshot, because that would open up Mire if we have the required medallion for it.
Like that?
Yeah, like that. But the Tempered is a nice parting gift.
So the good news for them is that just enables the ability to actually complete Mire. They could have gone into it, assuming it's not Ether to begin with. So if anything, that's just going to probably encourage him to not dip into T-Rock at the moment, because unfortunately he doesn't have Light World access from here.
Yeah, he'll have to actually save and quit and then come back up that way. But it's a lot more advantageous to dip T-Rock when you don't have Ice Rod, not so much when you don't have Fire Rod, because, well, there's only really one area you can check not having Fire Rod in T-Rock for that item.
Yeah, it's very much not likely going to be in there, but you know, sometimes it is in there, and
yeah, and it definitely doesn't hurt to check. It's really early on, so it's not a huge time loss if you check in here, and it isn't located there. So he is going to go up and open it up, knowing that he at least has the item required to access it, and then we'll see where they go from there, because as I said, it does also open up Mire for them, and they do have Mire Shed that they can check as well.
oh, I completely even missed the Tempered Sword in there. So that was the aforementioned good thing they got Master Sword earlier. Both of them going into T-Rock.
So if Fire Rod is here in the first chest in T-Rock, then we have go mode for both of our runners. If it is not, then we'll have to see and just hope and pray that we don't get Mir.
It is, if it is in here, it is advantage for Pooh, because he's already completed Pod, whereas Flaffy will have to make the trip back in there. I think the best case for Flaffy at the moment is that Fire Rod is actually at Pyramid Fairy, and she goes and checks it before Pooh remembers the 5-6 crystal.
Fluffy is checking the room here with the ball and chains. Just a heart, though, so definitely not going to be able to progress any further. Pooh, forgetting that you can't actually light those torches from lamp.
Yep. All right, where are they headed?
Pooh is heading to Mire.
As is Flaffy.
So really, we are going to be looking to see if one of two items is in the Mire Shed or Mire. And good item is Fire Rod. Bad item is Mirror.
So we don't need to worry about finding Ether. Mire is Bombos, so we've got both medallions we need. Both of them can complete this dungeon. There are 2 items in here base, with a third from Green Pendant. So we'll find out if they go through. Fortunately, with Silver Arrows, Vitreous is basically a joke.
Absolutely. Also important to note, unless I'm missing something here, we do still have the very, very vague possibility that Fire Rod would be on pedestal.
Yep. Don't need it for Desert, Swamp, or Mire, so it could be there. Flaffy actually noping out of Mire. Opened it and then decided, no, this is silly, I'm going to go somewhere else. Going to finish up Pod by the looks of it.
My guess is that we would see them probably exhaust most of their overworld locations before even considering pedestal. They still have Pyramid Fairy to check out. I believe Bumper Cave is still a possibility as well. So we'll see what they decide to do. But first, we need to find one of the items to Fire Rod. So with that, at an hour, 38 minutes, and 24 seconds, folks, GrandPOOBear has entered Go mode.
Yep.
It is interesting that Pooh is electing to go to T-Rock first here once he got the Fire Rod. Many would choose to go do Skull Woods before, so they can immediately go to Ganon's Tower right after completing T-Rock. So either way, I mean, he still has both to complete. It will just be a little bit more time on his side, having to do the Death Mountain climb twice.
Yeah, but if he wants to get this out of the way, he might just be feeling a bit more comfortable doing it at the moment, or he might not be aware that Skullwoods is a crystal still. It's an unusual play, but there's many reasons someone could make it.
Yeah, given that they were just in here, they just got 2 items really in quick succession and then found the Fire Rod. Pooh may just be thinking, totally in the mindset of T-Rock, because that's really where the game was starting to point him. And then afterwards he'll realize, oh wait, I still need 1 crystal yet.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to tunnel in on something that you just got denied from doing.
So Flaffy is making her way towards King Helmasaur. Afterwards, she will have to navigate over towards Misery Mire to get her Fire Rod before she can complete her last 2 dungeons.
Fortunately, it looked like she had a bit of an inclination for going into Mire, so it's a little bit unfortunate that she did decide to nope out there.
Yeah, after this fight, we may see her make that play again. Unfortunately, there are other areas that she can check before heading in there. So we'll see how long it does take her to make the play back that way. And electing to use the Tempered Sword on King Helmsor rather than the Silver Arrows, but does take it out and will be rewarded with her 4th crystal. Or I'm sorry, that's her 5th.
Oh no, change on Broom being... You can do it. Oh hey, convenient deal.
Yeah, there's no more perfect time for a 4th piece of heart than that. And Flaffy is making a play for Lamola, it seems.
Yeah, an unusual one, but when you're stuck looking for a single item, then...
Yeah, may choose that this is the play instead of going into Mire. Some runners hate Mire, so they will avoid it at any cost.
Which is strange given that she decided to open it earlier, but... I guess just absolutely felt clearing out a crystal dungeon is the better choice, especially in the case that Helmsor actually, had the item. I'm not sure if... I don't even know what he dropped.
And apparently, as we are being told in chat, the reason that Pooh made this play is he believes that Swamp is the crystal and not Skull Wood. So, with that knowledge, he believes he's still looking for Mir yet.
Oh, that's going to be really, really unfortunate if...
Yeah, hopefully he pauses his game on the overworld screen to see that the crystal is actually Skull Woods.
Unfortunately, Mirror could at this point easily be in, GT, where it's inaccessible. So if it is mismarked, then...
And Pooh taking an unfortunate death in that roller room. The fact that the roller eats up the beams from Samaria can be kind of frustrating. But luckily, it is not too much time to get back there from the Mimic Cave entrance.
Yeah, it's one of the advantages of actually going through that door is if something goes wrong, it's a nice midway point to the dungeon.
Is able to get through this time. And the other good thing for Pooh is he has his key already.
But if he still thinks he needs Mirror...
Yeah, he might still elect to do Laser Bridge. And he is not picking up the the magic refill, so we'll have about half of his magic left for Laser Bridge if he opts to go through and find it. And Looks like Flaffy is going to check out if pedestal is required. We know that it is not, but we will see what is there.
Oh man, 10 arrows. Alright, Pooh going to take the safety door here.
And Flaffy is heading to Mire.
So she's going to pick up her fire rod here. And I actually just misheard you, misheard you there, but I'm just gonna continue on. So that'll put her in go mode as well, and well, depending on the order Pooh does stuff in, could actually put her in the lead.
Yeah, it's not very often where your best play is to pause the screen. So there is Fire Rod from Fluffy and an immediate save and quit. We'll see if she makes the play to Skullwoods or to T-Rock first, and it looks like she is going to be fluting, so she is going to go to Skullwoods first.
Yep. It's just a case that a lot of people decide to spawn there as it's a very quick heal. Opting to pick up some potions too.
Not the worst. Having that little bit of extra buffer does definitely help.
Gives the assistant a B.
I think that hut gets more bees than anywhere else in the game.
It's between that hut or the sick kid, one of the two. I've seen a lot of people release bees on the sick kid as well.
So Pooh did make another check of his map and does know that he needs Skullwood, so he saves and quits and will be heading there.
So Moth is normally one of the hardest boss fights in the game because they can just decide to sit in a corner and ruin your day. I don't think at this point it'll be a real concern. Admittedly, the blue mail does nothing to protect against spikes, but with half magic, fire, rod, and tempered sword, which I believe only takes like 4 hits to kill Moth.
Yeah, Moth becomes very trivial once you get all the tools that they have. So this will be a really easy and quick fight for both of our runners. Pooh checking his map does definitely give him the advantage now because Flaffy still does have T-Rock to complete, whereas Pooh will be able to go ahead and head for Ganon's Tower right after his fight. Really quick fight for Flaffy here, so good fight. Bomb upgrade and a crystal.
Yeah, basically what do you expect from fighting Moth at the end of the game? Like, just as long as it's remotely cooperative, it just goes down really quickly. Unfortunately, it is still Moth, so it can still mercilessly troll you and sit in a corner for 5 minutes, but
Yeah, it's also really nice having half magic and fire rod to take out the all the Gibdos in the back of Skullwoods as well. But Pooh getting picked up by the Ceiling Master, having to return all the way back to the beginning. Very unfortunate there.
Wall Master is so annoying.
Playing it a little bit safer here and able to get through.
All right, time for his moth fight. Flaffy, unfortunately, not getting the block clip this time. Nice fight from Pooh.
Okay, and with that, Pooh has Moth down. He is ready for Ganon's tower. So, Void, we have a little thing that we like to play. Want to go ahead and kick that off?
All right, with all 7 crystals, we now have access to Ganon's tower. And that means there is one last thing to find in the game. Specifically, the big key that's going to allow us to access the upper portion of the tower. So they now have to go through possibly 22 item locations looking for this single big key. And it's basically common practice now that everybody in chat, so yeah, a lot of numbers out there trying to guess which spot the key is actually at.
I typically elect to choose 11. In most cases, that will fall in random room or just short of it. It's normally random room in the way I route, but 11 is normally always my guess.
I personally like to stick with 2, just in the off chance that both runners get to GT at a very similar time. It turns into a very execution-focused race.
Fluffy, unfortunately, having that upper left torch go out right before she can make it through. So we'll have to light all the torches again. Having trouble with this bottom right torch.
Gets it and continues on, though.
Pooh is going to check the right side first. Key and a compass, and he will continue on the right side.
Yep, going to take that key, which is one of the requirements.
Fluffy about a third of the way through T-Rock now. She is go-moding this, so when she has that extra key available, she will be able to make her way through really quickly.
Finding the all-important bug net in GD.
But 1 through 6 do not have what we are looking for, and Pooh is going to get the key out of here. Very important to do when you're doing the right side route.
Unfortunately, no mirror means he's probably going to just continue all the way through. And we might even get to, I don't know, we might get to see the contents of the big chest if he finds a big key. It's not often that you get here without a mirror and having the option of checking the big chest, so...
Fortunately, this room giving him a lot of trouble, so he is just going to death warp back to the start. Maybe his best option at this point.
Oh no, my dreams of maybe checking the big chest because it's right there. Alright, going left side. This is a more traditional route to see. Oh, hey, there's a big key.
So if you guessed 7 today, good game. Pooh going to go ahead and grab a key quick for his climb. And luckily, he doesn't have to go that far back, as if he were all the way deeper into Ganon's Tower.
So this is the part where chat begins wondering why boots were ever found in this seed, because we all know chat loves having the big key on the torch when people don't have boots. Fortunately for Pooh, having already gotten them, big key on torch, not a problem.
Yeah, typically, if you don't have boots, you want big key to be on torch. If you don't have mirror, you want big key to be, you know, down by Bob or something, or random room, yeah. And the gauntlet start is going to be nice and easy for these mimics because having the silvers.
Except for when they're uncooperative and just shoot energy beams all over the place.
Yeah, at 4 hearts, we may see Pooh elect to dip into the ferry room there at the end of the bridge just to get a refill. I don't remember if he ever stopped to pick up any more potions. I believe he still has his red potion that he bought earlier.
I'm not sure of his potion status, but it's definitely a good idea to stop here. Also, with the advantage of having picked up the bug net, if he's got an empty bottle, he can potentially catch one of these.
Which he is electing to do. So Fluffy now on her Trinex fight. Trinex, of course, being its normal self, with giving her some difficulties, but does take off the Firehead now for the ice side.
Trinex's natural habitat, being difficult and exploding. I guess that's natural state though, not habitat, so I'm being silly. GrandPOOBear getting through the gauntlet fairly well here.
Yeah, really good job using the hookshot to sort of help him stunning the enemy so they don't get too far away. Surprised he did not actually opt to powder that bunny beam just to get another fairy. Then again, in almost 2 hours in, you kind of might start feeling that your opponent is closing in on finishing, so maybe any time saves possible you may be looking at.
Alright, the always popular Wizrobe rooms. Because they're basically designed for that.
Yeah, they're really entertaining to watch. And if you can figure them out and get consistent with it, doing this little trick, clearing out all 4 Wizrobes in that room, is just so satisfying to do every single time.
Fluffy also choosing to start right here. We'll see if she opts to go full right or double back and grab the torch.
And she is just going to make a play for the left side, so she will find it at item 3. So a little bit of a time catch up there. So not entirely out of it. We know that Ganon can have the tendency to sort of trap runners and make them fall as well. So we'll see how Pooh fares against him and whether or not Flappy has the ability to make a little bit more of a comeback. Has been making up some time in the last few minutes here.
Yeah, Ganon is... they are well equipped for the fight, but it doesn't change the fact that he can be difficult, depending on whether he gets circle bats out and stuff like that. It can definitely make up some time if you take a fall or he decides to hug you.
Yeah, even with Blue Tunic, Ganon likes to really do some damage, so definitely not out of the woods on Pooh's side yet.
I think Blue Tunic actually only reduces the damage output by 1. Never mind having it. I might be wrong on that, though.
But first things first, Pooh finally gets to meet Aghanim, so he will have his chance at the wizard, and we'll see how he does. And 1 on his first. I am giving Pooh kind of rough patterns to deal with early on, including 2 blue balls. Does get another hit there.
Yeah, Aghanim's breaking out the advanced geometry today. Now the good thing is the RNG for Aghanim 2 the first time you fight him is it's fixed. So Flaffy's also gonna wow.
Of course, when he doesn't need it, he gets the perfect lineup.
Now that it's down to 1 hit left, here, let us just all stand on top of each other.
And thank you, chat, for our binary Pooh Aghanim fight.
All right, time for blue bacon. Deciding to sing us a little song.
Ganon is very well versed in his, music, because he sings to us quite a bit.
We got quite a bit of culinary knowledge too, between weights of cheese, the healthiness of of whole grains, and his fascination with burritos.
Yeah, Pooh doing a fairly good job, able to get through the second phase of Ganon here. We'll see how many phases we get from Ganon. We're already at 2 teleports, 3.
Another bit of RNG that's also fixed for both runners. Your first warp pattern against Ganon.
You'll sometimes see a lot of runners hit Ganon a second time in his jump. Absolutely not needed. Ganon only needs to be hit once during each of those. So Pooh electing not to really go for the swag, but does get the torch glitch as well, so that helps him out.
Admittedly, at this point in the run, though, it's fun to just hit Ganon more times than is necessary.
So we have 3 shots down, and that will be our 4th. So everyone get your GGs out for GrandPOOBear, who is going to finish this seed in first place.
Yep, GG to Pooh.
And his official SRTV time will be 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 27 seconds.
And the Triforce taunts him.
Absolutely. Flaffy taking out her Moldorm too. Skipping the final chest and just continuing on. Notice there's nothing in there really outside of a possible Butter Sword, but if you're comfortable with Ganon with Tempered and Silvers, probably no reason to check, especially if you just see your opponent finish their part of the race. So just wants to finish as fast as possible, so she will be on to Aghanim as well.
Welcome, Pooh.
How's it going?
So that was a seed.
Well, yeah, that was a seed, and then I played that whole Turtle Rock portion pretty badly, too, as well. So that definitely didn't help things. I for some reason thought I needed mirror. I marked Skull Woods as the orb and not Swamp on my tracker, and so the whole time I'm thinking I needed to go into Swamp and not Skull, until right in between, like right when I died at Turtle Rock, and I realized like, oh, I don't need to go to Swamp. So I feel a bit dumb for that, because I was looking for the mirror the whole time. So yeah, that was a seed though. A lot of double dipping required.
Yeah, it actually wanted you to go into Pod to get the flute so they could go up to Hera and get the lamp to actually complete Pod. Fortunately for you sequence broke up there early on and just had the lamp when you actually went into Pod, so you completed first go.
Yeah, that was convenient. Like, and that was one thing that I was really interested about, because once I got the lamp and Hera, I was like, well, what I thought was, once I got the lamp and Hera, I was like, oh, this is probably a bad sequence break, because I would have gotten flute if I went somewhere else. But then once I got it in Pod, I was like, man, they really wanted you to go around there, you know what I mean? Like, they really, that was something. Well, that, and you needed boots. You needed boots to go into Desert Palace and get golden mitts. So you had to go to Skullwoods, get the boots, go back to. It was all something. Yeah.
It was definitely a lineup.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty disappointed the way I handled that last like 30 minutes though. Like that's something I wish I should have been a lot better about. I was in go mode and didn't realize it.
I think most runners have done that at one point or another, so
yeah.
it's
yeah, well, you know, it's just I definitely haven't gotten to that point where I've played enough of these where I've seen like everything, you know, like where I've like made every mistake you can make yet. So I'm still in that point, still making some mistakes here and there. So that's what it is. Fun game. Well, where is she at right now?
Shooting Ganon in the face with a silver arrow.
Okay, so she was right there. She was right behind me then.
Yeah, one of the big things that also helped was when you went into Mire there, she opened Mire and then decided to go a different direction. So when you pulled the fire rod, and that put you in go mode, was like, oh, that's basically at this point what she's doing is potentially putting her further behind, but given that she just went to Pod and finished that up anyways, it was like, okay, she's just going to pick up a crystal.
Yeah, that was just a really I don't know. I played that whole Turtle Rock thing like really wrong. Like I don't know why I didn't do Skullwoods first, and I just didn't know. And then like I don't know if you guys noticed, but I went to Turtle Rock without Fire Rod like an idiot as well.
It's not a bad check, because if it was in that first chest on the left, you would have actually been good. So you were already up there.
Yeah, that was
Flaffy made the same check too. So.
Oh, okay. Well, then I feel less bad about that one then. Oh yeah, but the dungeon mix-ups. Doing Skullwoods before Turtle Rock then was really dumb. I literally thought I needed to go to Swamp, and the whole time I was playing to get into Swamp, and yeah, that was just a misread by me on my tracker. So.
I'll admit, yeah, I've confused the two abbreviations before as well myself. So
well, as long as I'm not alone in this, you know, as long as we've all done it once or twice, you know.
Welcome, Flaffy. GG. All right. Sorry about that. Not sure. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just listening.
So that was a lineup on that seed.
Yeah, it was. I regret doing land rollers, and that's about it.
Yeah, unfortunately, line walls ultimately not required.
Mm-hmm. And then messing up the dark room of Pod, I messed that one up so bad. If I hadn't have done that, I think I would have saved a bunch of time.
Yeah, it would definitely been a closer race because
Yeah.
just having to re-dive Pod there was a little bit of a time sink, but you were making a lot of time up at the end there because Pooh, I would say, was in GT right about the time that you were entering the tubes and T-Rock, so you were able to make up a lot of time.
and then I went through the tubes, and I was like, wait, I don't need to go here because I have the big key. And then I was like, wait, I need to go here so I can grab the key and not have to go to Laser Bridge.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting seat all the way around.
Yeah, that was a seed.
Wanting the double dip of Pod, if you don't sequence break anything, to go up and get the lamp out of Hera, and needing the boots in order to get the small key to get the mitts out of Pendant Desert. It was that's just
My brain isn't even. I have no idea what the sequence of events was in my brain right now. I just know where everything was.
Well, what it wanted you to do was to go to Pod to get the flute so you could head up to Death Mountain, access Hera there to get the lamp so you could head back to Pod.
Yeah, it wanted you to go to Ice to get the bow first because Pod was bow locked.
Yeah, which required getting the mitts, which needed the boots from Skull Woods. So it was yeah, it was a sequence to do, and it is one of the cases where either knowing dark rooms or just doing a sequence break up to Death Mountain early was actually a huge benefit. So this seed definitely rewarded sequence breaking in one of two forms, and unfortunately with the dark rooms in Pod, they're painful. They're really hard.
That's probably the worst one I've ever done. I kind of like blanked on what I couldn't. My brain was not showing me what that room looked like. I'm like, I'm doing something wrong. I used the key somehow, and I couldn't get through the door, and I wasn't understanding how I could do it. But I think you can. I'm guessing you can open the door without having those pegs open. Is what was happening to me. Because I used the key, definitely.
I'm not entirely certain what was happening in there, but I think the turtle was mostly just running back and forth. And
yeah, I was trying to kill it. It wasn't being knocked over. But yeah, that was close. I liked how close that was.
yeah.
Definitely gonna be fun to watch back.
yeah, there was a lot of divergence at like any point in the race. It wasn't until I think it was just before you opened up Meyer. Both of you were in that region at like the same time, but pretty early on, you two chose to go in very, very different directions. And in this case, admittedly, it was sequence break up to Death Mountain that really helped Pooh out.
Yeah. If I had went into Meyer instead of like I opened Meyer fully intending to go in there, but I noticed that I still had an item left in Pod, and that's why I left to go to Pod instead of going into Meyer. If I had gone into Meyer right then, I would have had the fire rod, and I think at that point I was in go mode.
Yeah, that would have been your go mode item. It was Pooh's go
Mhm.
mode item as well. So you two actually would have ultimately pulled that at roughly the same time. That being said, he had already completed pod, so he didn't have to make a return trip there.
Yeah. Still would have saved me just a little bit of time, made it just a little bit of a closer race. Make it just a little bit more exciting to watch.
It was still exciting to watch just because of the large amount of divergence between what you two were doing for large
Yeah.
portions of the race, though. So
That was definitely a strange seed.
Absolutely. You and Pooh put on quite an entertaining match, though. It was definitely fun to call. And thanks again to my co-commentator, Voidborn Beast, for doing this with me. It was a lot of fun to go through with you.
yep, it was enjoyable commentating with you too. If you liked what you saw here today, definitely give the runners a follow. They put on a good show, and thank you to our restreamer and tracker, as well as obviously you for joining me, Crimson.
No problem, and be sure to follow all the speed gaming and link to the past randomizer channels. There are a lot more races to happen. There's some more today. I know some tomorrow, and then we still have technically 3 more weeks of Swiss rounds. Round 6 is going to be a 2-week process, so definitely check out all the races and give a bunch of the runners in this tournament a follow, because they've all been very entertaining to watch.
And with that, I believe we're ready to wrap it up here. So have a good rest of the day, everyone.
Take care.